97,000, a record, but not 100,000. Is it good or bad?
Yeah, so look, it's a record for them, but it's not a record by much. And then you had Musk saying that they could probably get to 100,000 vehicles if they pushed. I do wonder if he hadn't said anything, if the shares would be reacting better, because it really was a solid quarter for them. I think the other more alarming thing for investors is the fact that most of the vehicles being sold are now lower priced, lower margin Model 3s, and you're starting to see a lot less take on Model S and Model X, which are the really expensive vehicles. And the question for investors is, okay, where are the profits going to come from if you're selling a lot of these smaller, cheaper, lower margin vehicles?
Gene, what's your take on the 97,000 number?
Killer, I think it's a great number. I am in the camp also that it would be perceived as much better if not for the Friday email. And I think that there's two topics here. There's what's going on with the fundamentals of Tesla, and then there's what's going on with the communications around the story. And Elon Musk continues to say things that are not good for the stock in this case. And separately, if we just look at the fundamentals, which ultimately should be the most important, is the fact that they got a record. The 97, just to put that into context, that puts them loosely on track to hit the low end of a range of 360 to 400,000 vehicles for the year. But when they originally came out with that range, investors said it is near absurdity that they would do that, and they are tracking towards that low end. So I think that it is, despite the mix of the greater Model 3s, it's 82% Model 3s. It's generally consistent with the mix in the June quarter. So my simpler read is I think that this is a sign that the demand question, this is no longer about a production question on Tesla, that the demand question continues to be answered, that it seems that the U.S., at least, and parts of Europe, are ready for EVs.
And Gene, what's your take on what David Welch was mentioning, that they're sacrificing price and those margins for the sake of market share, selling those lower price vehicles?
My view, it's true, that's a fact. But my view is that the sweet spot of electrification is going to be in lower cost, lower margin vehicles. And it's still called 2% of vehicles in the U.S. So I think that even though that is at a high level, that is not a good trade from higher margin to lower margin, but just the size of the market is so massive. That's the real sweet spot of the S-curve. I think it's the right thing for the company to continue to aggressively pursue that part of the market.